Magnets are gate pumps for the ether or vacuum or cosmic energy. What I hope you take away from this whole conference is that vacuum itself is energy. It's potential energy, random. We can cohere this energy with certain devices and systems. There's John Bedini's magnetic motor. This will run virtually forever, and since it will, you can tap this for unlimited, limitless electrical energy. Kohei Minato's magnetic motor, and there's the controversial Parandiv motor. By the way, I recommend that any of you who have requisite skills in electrical, magnetic disciplines, you can start to build these, and I recommend that you build them at once. Don't wait. Troy Reed's magnetic motor. Troy Reed powers an automobile, car, all around the United States. Just permanent magnets. George Sukup's V-gate motor. There's a lot of replications on YouTube. Very easy, very accessible design. Don't let anybody tell you there's no such thing as free energy. There is. If you're ingenious enough, industrious enough, and you don't quit, don't listen to naysayers, you can be having free energy. Be free of the tyranny of oil companies, monopolies, and cartels and utilities.
I just wanted to mention real quick, there are people who have donated a little money to me through my Patreon account and also through my PayPal, and I want to thank them personally. John from Canada, and Carl from Texas, Mike from Texas. And so I do take those donations seriously, and I think I've proven that I put my money in the right place and make a little bit go a lot further than it would have been otherwise. But so I appreciate those donations. So I'm in my garage that I'm converting into a living space. And every time I'm working on it, I am always thinking of future technology. And my brain is like 10 years ahead of where I can actually be physically. But I'm always thinking of new technology and ways of explaining the research that I'm doing. And there are many reasons why I don't fear any collapse of the economy or civil unrest or anything. There are concerns I have with it, but I've reached a point where I no longer worry about it because I've done my preparations as much as I can do, and then after I did that, I started looking into what's available for technology. What do we have that we've never heard of? And so I have honestly thought about doing, live video feeds for this stuff because I keep seeing more things. And I want you to watch this video. Notice that this volcano, the electricity comes from the volcano. And this is stuff that I've been starting to realize that God is putting out in display his technology. And I always look for connections with what God is already doing with his creations and the cosmos and the sun and the earth and all the electromagnetic fields and what they do and how they interact with each other. And it's all based around magnetism and vacuum and turning around each other, like the planets. So just think about this in terms and then make these connections with technology and free energy and all these things that, we hear about, and there are always naysayers out there saying it's not possible. But we just think about it in a way that will just change our thinking about eternal things and with how God deals with things and how he creates things. And the reason why a lot of these things aren't known or people haven't seen a lot of these things is because either we don't believe it or we listen to the naysayers too much, or there's other people who don't believe it and they tell other people to not believe it. So it's just a lot of this going on, a lot of distractions, we have a tsunami of information, misinformation, just discouragement, all this stuff. So we have to swim through all this stuff. So I have to look at my notes once in a while, but so the reasons why I don't fear any collapse of the economy is because once you start realizing that there's way better technology out there, and I'm going to put all these links down below with all these videos that I mentioned. But there's a video that my friend posted about the concept behind the ethics or the philosophy of big corporate business. And way back when they started, we have to go back in history and figure out when they started making these products. In this video that I'm talking about, when they started inventing the light bulb and understanding the technology behind it, they had light bulbs that lasted for so long, and even to this day, a 120-year-old light bulb is still lit. And I know I mentioned that before, but there's a great detailed version of this. So watch that link down below if I can find the video. So this shows that philosophy, and even back in Tesla's time, he had a philosophy of having free energy, and that route that we could have taken, and we didn't take that route because of his one interaction with J.P. Morgan back then. They said if we put a meter on it, we can't charge anything. We can't put a meter on whatever Tesla was talking about. So we have this alternative route that we took, that we're in the grid in every aspect of our life. We have to deal with planned obsolescence in all the products that we have. They're planned to fail. They're planned to be annoying. They have some kind of off-putting thing to our products, so we have to buy the more expensive one. Stuff like that. So anyway, we're having to just kind of deal with it. If we add up all those things, we turn into slaves to it. So we're kind of living in this whole environment just way too complicated, and where just a few people at the top, they have control of all these things. So I'm gonna probably put up more videos. It's probably gonna be more of like, I'm gonna call it we're getting out of this mess series of videos. And I've kind of done this throughout my channel, but I kind of want to do it more in a concise way, so it's more compacted into these videos. But I've done so much research that I've gotten to the point where I don't fear the future, and I'm excited for things to collapse in a way, to start thinking about the alternatives. The other reason why a lot of this stuff that I mentioned has never been heard of is because people aren't looking for it. They not only not believe it, but they don't look for it. They don't think that there's any alternatives other than what we have, and there's kind of this fake advancement in technology when they're acting like, oh, we come out with this new thing when they've already known the concept for a long time. In fact, just look back at the products we've had before, and that they used to make them so much better. And we're like back in the 70s, they are actually in the mood or in the mode of inventing things and genuinely wanting to solve problems. And so back in the 70s, you get these old products that are still working today, and they're still just really cool. And it's kind of lost and forgotten. So there are people, just like the video that you saw in the beginning, there are people who know about this stuff, and you just have to go looking for it and start believing that there is real amazing alternative stuff. Technology, medical stuff. I actually did videos about the medical topic. Maybe I'll do an updated video about that. The alternatives to healing and staying healthy. I haven't been sick for a long time, and I have ways of doing that alternatively and I have confidence to go forward with, with anything that happens. So I can share some of those things. And but there are real alternatives. It takes a discernment. It takes, I feel like it takes a guidance of the Holy Ghost, so you can know what is real, what isn't, what's fake, what's a hoax, what's a copycat, what's a, all these things that we're inundated with. But I guess number one thing is having the Holy Ghost with you, so you can have that discernment. Figure it, because people could easily make an imitation of something that's real and then make it look like it's not working or fake or actually harms you or something. So they have this alternative fake thing that it discourages people because there's something wrong with it. And then there's problems that we could overcome. A lot of these new technologies. One example is the HHO toilet concept that I was talking about, that technology applied into an off-grid toilet. And some of the problems people mention is that the gases are highly explosive, like that it creates, like the HHO stuff, the hydrogen oxygen gas. And there are people who are solving that problem and making it so it is safe and it is not a threat or scary or anything. So if you separate the oxygen and the hydrogen suddenly doesn't have oxygen when it's sitting by itself, and so it's a lot safer without the oxygen. So there's a way of separating that, and you can store hydrogen gas, and there's people who are proving that. So there's all these things that we can solve as we look forward and believe that these things are true. Like, just be curious like a kid, just stay fresh. I mean, like, ignore all the naysayers and ignore everything that you thought you knew, and just get curious and let your imagination just soar. So, because a lot of this stuff, especially technology and stuff, the potential of these things are not taught in schools. So we only get bits and pieces that are kind of just inundated with a lot of busy work and a lot of things that are true, just a negative truth. We go through our entire school career only knowing bits and pieces, whereas I watch a 10-minute video back in the 50s and I know more in that 10 minutes than I did in my whole 4 years in high school. So I'll post that link down below if I can find the video too. We can look forward to new things that are coming. We just have to be looking for it, and we just have to start cleaning our brains of the past and looking forward into the future with curiosity and of a believing heart that it's real and that things are out there, and that you can be inspired and find your purpose, find your mission. If you feel strongly about making something or inventing something, like, I know something, I have a machinist brother or a engineer friend, or I am an engineer myself, or like, I could do that. And basically what I have to work with are just household items, and in my brain I wish I could manufacture it, make it really good, efficient, whatever, but I have to work with what I've got. So, and I don't have a whole lot of money to work with to do those things, but I at least want to get the information out. And one of the main keys for this stuff to get out is just you knowing it. And so if you're interested and you feel like you don't understand everything, as long as you know it, as long as it's in your head, then that's enough. And because you'll know somebody who you could tell, and so as long as it's in the public mind that these things are possible, and then it'll start to come out into a mainstream type of thing. But it's never going to be in the mainstream school system or the mainstream corporate training system or the mainstream thinking. You have to find these things, and it opens up to a whole nother world that that you never knew existed, and it gets exciting, and your fears about the future like are erased. So I'm just sharing little bits and pieces of it, and all of the research that I've done and I'm doing now. I'm just sharing with you what I found, and you could tell that these people are genuine. You could tell that they have a genuine heart. They have a genuine desire to get this stuff out to people and to solve problems and to not be in captivity and to be free. I feel like this is one of the greatest front lines to, I guess I would call it a type of war of becoming free from captivity, is knowing this type of stuff. All of this stuff that we're in, paying bills and all this stuff, bills need to go away. We don't need them. We don't need all the materials that we've always had. We have alternatives, and they're absolutely amazing, and they can be completely good for the earth as we're recycling back into the earth, and everything is just, it's not, it doesn't give off pollution or anything like that. Just think about the video in front of this video that the guy was talking about magnet motors, and just think of magnetism in everything. Think of the video of the volcano. What do you think the pyramids back in the day were? Maybe they saw a volcano doing this, and they're replicating what they saw the volcano doing, and they studied it, and so they made these little small, experimental pyramids at first, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, it's working, let's make a bigger one. And their ambitions got bigger, and they got bigger and bigger pyramids. And so you think about it, quartz crystal has a way of producing energy. I've already done videos about that. And so you put them all into a conal shape or all together so it has a direction. And that volcano is showing that it is putting that energy into a point from the earth. So you get this electromagnetic waves of energy that go right through that point, and as the magma starts moving and getting closer to the tip, that electricity just charges up and it discharges into the sky. And so also think about the sun. I feel like the sun is electrical, and if you think about it, an electrical magnetic pulse, an EMP from the sun. We get bits and pieces of this information. So if you look close at like cameras of the zoom ins of the sun, you could see electric arcs. You could see all of the vortexes of the electromagnetic swirls of energy going on, and they arc like this. I feel like those same things are happening on Earth, like on any planet. Those same vortexes of energy, just like these other videos that I was explaining, that I'll put the links down below as well. As these volcanoes are starting to happen, in the clouds, they're starting to see the waves of the electromagnetic waves. So these waves of energy are flowing through, and they're starting to get we're starting to get a display of exactly how this electricity is working right in front of us. And I feel like it's God's way of saying, hey, look, it's right in front of you. Here's the real information. And I watched this channel, it's called BP Earthwatch, and he's really knowledgeable about the universe and all this stuff happening. And he says it's an electrical universe that we're in. And as a comet comes through our solar system, that blast of energy that you see coming off of it is it's not the sun that's heating it up and it's evaporating. It's actually electrical. And so it's giving off this electromagnetic energy directed towards the sun. And so you get this tail on this comet. And so as he was talking about it, think about that energy, and it's going through the magnetic, getting closer to the electrical sun, it's starting to charge itself. So think about those things. He talks about that as well. So all these little bits of information we could start putting together into our technology and how we can create devices and things like that. I'll just harness the energy that is swirling all around us, all around the earth, all around the air, all around the sun, the moon, all in between and under the earth and everything. And we could just create devices that'll just kind of flow through, and we could use the energy and it'll go right back, just, and the HHO toilets I was talking about, taking care of our waste, recycling it, having it come back, for our use. It's harmless as it goes out. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's sanitary and everything. Very efficient. All these things can go into our technology. Magnet motors that are just run forever, like in a car, or even a HHO burner car. Just burns the hydrogen and turns into water. Those, you've probably heard of things like that. But there's always naysayers that say no, that's not true. Even like shows on TV say, well, that's a great idea, but it's not efficient, and you see this great production of them showing how it's not efficient and how you can't do this because of this or this reason, and they try to make it like, don't do this because it's way too dangerous, or it doesn't have any value to it, and it's discouraging you from thinking that way. So it's all these things that we're encompassed about with it. It gets discouraging sometimes, honestly, but if we sift through that, we can find it. And just watch just a couple of these videos that I'm showing you, and you'll start to get the idea that there is a whole nother world we can start thinking about, and we don't have to fear the future at all. So just like in this device that I've shared before in a video, this is the same type of concept of an Earth or a planet or something, and the energy can flow through this thing just because of the shape of it. Notice the pyramid shape and that concept behind it, the spherical shape in there. And so just by that concept, we could understand that this stuff that can be real, and it's I still have to experiment on this and figure it out. But and I'll do videos of this, of course. But if we look further in the future and think about the scriptures, tie this together with what the Lord has already done in the world, in the history, and in our future, what's prophesied for the future. And I always look at this as well to see connections of, how we use the earth and the technology, and how we recycle, and how we can reuse energy and all these things. And God has already created a world like that. And so if we think in that direction, like even our bodies, like we recycle things and use things, and our bodies are amazing when we think about it. And think about also the city of Enoch, and there's not a lot of information about that, but it's mentioned in the Bible, and also there's an apocrypha record of the city of Enoch. So I read that to get some ideas and information, just understanding how that worked. And there's a lot of information that we could think about, that the city of Enoch is in our future, meaning that concept of the city of Enoch is in our latter-day future, just on a global scale, on this earth and in the heavens, like mortal and immortal. Like it's all going to come together as a big gathering of all of the living people and all of the people who have lived in the past. It's all going to be connected together in the latter days, and we're seeing evidence of that coming along. So we have a future, the people who believe in Jesus Christ and his prophecies and his encouragement and his love and his things that he said, that be not troubled, for when ye shall see these things, know that my promises are about to come to pass. And so we can look forward to something that he has planned on. And once you see these little indications of those things happening, there has to be kind of a growth of his children, and we're kind of growing together as the wheat and the tares together. If you remember the wheat and the tares, and as we grow together, we reach a maturity point, and then we start getting the desire to like start gathering together with like-minded. And I believe that is God's Spirit speaking to his people. Like the Good Shepherd is calling to his people to gather together. And then you get the tares who gather together with like-minded. And so you get this dual future of the wheat of the Lord's people, of the Good Shepherd, and then you get the tares of that order going on. So you have the Lord's future prophecy. He calls it Zion, and it's Zion is not a what, it's a who. And that I'm quoting a friend of mine. So Zion is a what. Zion is not a what, it's a who. And it's who we become and who we follow. And that is Zion. And so when we recognize other people who are like-minded, we know that's a Zion-like person who their faith is based in Jesus Christ and their salvation is through him. And I always have to go back to religious stuff, because that is my base of my faith is Jesus Christ. So I look forward to that. And if you look at anything else other than Jesus Christ and his encouragement and inspiration, then there's no hope left. You don't. That's the only thing left to have hope in, is his scriptures and his prophecy, his promises. So, and he can inspire us to know how things work, like mechanical things and future things, and solving problems and do things how he would do them. So he can inspire you to do certain things and just have ideas. Some people sometimes have dreams about ideas, and then they go and do that, and it comes to life, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. Or they can they're really good at piecing together just little clues or potential of something, and they're like, okay, I can see where this is going. And then that's what I feel like the Spirit of God is falling upon them, and they find their mission in life, and they really solve problems because of the love that they have for others, their brothers and sisters. And that's where the true mission is doing it motivated out of love for people, freeing them from captivity, serving them. One of the greatest lessons that I've learned when I served a mission for my church is there's potential in everyone that you meet, and selfless service. Get outside yourself. There's somebody, personality you don't get along with, you get outside yourself, serve them, pray for them, and things change dramatically. And it's so amazing how you change, they change, and I love that. And that's what I learned right off from my mission. And as I go forward in life, I took those things with me, and I see potential in everybody. I see potential in myself. I see undiscovered things in myself that I never knew before. I see undiscovered things in other people, and I help and try to encourage that. And I love serving people. That's the solution to all conflict, is serving. So the Lord wants us to get outside of ourselves and like give of yourself, and you'll find yourself. So that's what that scripture means. If you give yourself to him, you'll find yourself. So so all these things we can find. There's a glorious future ahead. There's an opinion that I have about the future, is that America, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all of that principle is the principles that carries, the idea behind that, freedom of life, liberty, and happiness. and respecting and loving other people doing that as well, and getting joy out of other people enjoying that. That principle of America is what I'm talking about. That's what I believe that the flag represents. And that concept is going to spread throughout the earth, throughout the world, and those countries who want to adopt those same principles within the Constitution of the United States, that's going to spread throughout the earth. And you can see those things happening already when you see actual inspired rallies out in other countries. Sometimes they're waving an American flag because they know what that represents, and they have an American flag along with their local country flag, and so they know those principles, and we have that desire to have that. And of course, there is an enemy who doesn't want us to have that. But if we're just like inspired, trust the Lord, He'll guide us through all these things. And so all these things will spread out through the entire world, and people will be inspired to know how to do that and implement that into their country. So these people who want to come to America to find opportunities, they don't have to come to America. America is coming to them. That concept, that principle of America. Think about the world as a great wheat field of the wheat and the tares. So you have like people of the Lord's people, the Good Shepherd, gathering together in their own places, their own states, their own cities, their own towns, their own countries. Those like-minded peoples are gathering together, dotted throughout the earth. And then you have the tares, who also gather together in their own place all around the world, dotted throughout the world. They have their system that they want to implement, and God has His system of His freedom, life, liberty, love under the Good Shepherd all throughout the world until He comes again. A lot of people who study the Bible have noticed that America is not mentioned in the Bible. I feel like it has. The Lord calls it Zion. And I feel like since the world is going to be flooded with Zion in all these pocket countries and cities all around the world, then that will be America. That is God's term. Zion is the principles behind America. And so that's what I want to share with you. I know it's kind of a long video talking about technology leading up to just faith in Jesus Christ. And that's where it all comes together. That's the rock of our foundation. And if you haven't read my book of Seeing the Hand of God in Real Time, go ahead and read that or order that. I just kind of give some basic ideas of how to get there and how to see His hand in the world and see what He's really doing right now in your life and in the world in general. And that brings a lot of encouragement, a lot of hope, and the world doesn't seem so scary, dark, dismal, whatever, despair of the future. You could see the opposite when you see the God's hand in things. So have hope in the future, have excitement in the future, have great faith in Jesus Christ, and let freedom ring.